Hi guys, this video is meant to help you with your color palettes and Typecard. So we're going to start with the color palettes. So you're going to open up the document. It's a PSD document, colorpalette.psd. And this is what you should see, a series of color swatches with some labels for the hex code for that color. So we're going to change the first one. You guys are actually going to make 3 separate ones, but I'll just do one to show you how to go about doing it. So notice there's a bunch of layers in the folder for the first one, which is at the top. So we're going to go to the color first and change the color. So I don't like that beige and the tan, so those are the ones I'm going to change. I'm going to leave the plum and the navy because I kind of like those. So I'm going to use the paint bucket tool. I'm going to pick a nice blue that I like. Something sort of subtle that'll blend with those other 2 colors. That looks good. We'll take that one. But we're going to copy the hex code because we need that. So we go with the paint bucket and we just paint it, and that's all it takes to change the color. Now we need to rename that layer because it's no longer that hex code anymore. So we're just going to double click, and usually that lets you edit the layer name. So we're going to go ahead and just paste in our hex code. And now we need to fix the label that's actually on the document. So we're going to go use text. We're going to highlight the layer. We're going to click right by the layer, and that should let us highlight the whole thing, and then we're going to paste our hex code again. And that's it. That's all it takes to change the color. So I'm going to do another one just to walk you through it again. So we're going to change that tan color. And I'm probably going to pick a nice gray because I think that'll round out those other colors. So again, copy the hex code because you need it later. Go ahead and use the paint bucket tool to color in the swatch. Double click that layer with that particular square. Paste in the new hex code. Go to the text layer for that swatch, and then paste in the new hex code for the label. And that's it for layering and creating your swatches. This is all you have to do, is go through this process, change the color, and then change the hex code labels. And so then we're going to save the document. You want to make sure that you save it as a PSD with layers preserved. So you do not want to flatten it. You want to make sure that the layers are still there. I'm going to be checking both the document and whether the layers are there, whether you edited the layers correctly. So then I just resaved over what I had already done. And that's it for the color palettes. Moving on to type cards. This is where you specify the font and the font colors that you're going to use in your site. So we're going to open up the Typecard PSD. This is still a Photoshop document, so you should still be in Photoshop. Notice we have one background layer and then a bunch of text layers. So we have a header, we have a subheader, we have some body text, and we have some link text. So we want to say, here's what we want each of these items to look like. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the background color because websites with white backgrounds are pretty boring. So I don't know, I figure that baby blue is a nice color, so I'm just going to paint after highlighting the layer, and now we have a baby blue background. So the next thing we want to do is we want to start playing with these text layers. So the first one we're going to edit is the header. So we're going to, again, use our text tool, highlight the text layer, put our cursor right beside where it ends. That lets us highlight the whole layer, and we're going to choose a new font. I'm going to choose something fun, something not so boring, just to show you what happens. So we have something fun, and we're going to change it from black because black doesn't really go with that font. Okay, so now that we have the header, we want to do the same thing to the subheader. So we're going to highlight the subheader, and we're going to choose a different font. I still want it to be kind of fun, so we're going to leave it as something fun. We're not going to pick something too boring. Chalk Duster is pretty fun, but it's pretty big, so we want to make it smaller than the regular heading because the subheading should be smaller than a regular heading. So we're shrinking it down. We're going to change the color again. We don't want it to be black. We want it to be something else. I thought of making it pink, but that's not showing up very well, so we're going to have to do something different. So let's just see. I think I end up with a purple on this one, although I'm really trying hard to make it pink. So I've given up on the pink. Going to make it purple so that it shows up good against our background. That's a little too dark. We don't want it to be that dark. So I'm going to lighten it up a little bit, and then I'm going to hit OK to save it. So now we're moving on to the body text, and we don't want that to be something fun because usually the fun fonts aren't the readable ones. And your body text, you want to make sure it's readable because it's usually a lot smaller than everything else. So I'm going to pick Helvetica New. It's still kind of modern, but it's very readable. And I'm going to choose the light version of that. I really like the ultralight, but it's a little too thin to be very readable, so I usually default to the light. So I'm going to make it white just to make a different color other than the black. You hit OK, and then we're done with the body text. And so the last thing we need to do is edit the link. So the link text at the bottom, we want to leave it probably the same font as the body text because usually the links are found in the body. So you don't want them to be drastically different. You just want them to be like maybe another color or something like that. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to make it, again, Helvetica New Light. And then we're going to give it a different color. And so I think I'm going to squeak in my pink here. It's not tremendously readable, but I wanted it as part of the colors. Probably wouldn't do this on an actual web page because of readability issues, but just to show you something different and give it a new color. So we're actually done with our type card. We've defined all of the fonts and colors for all of our type. So we want to go ahead and save it. Remember, again, save it as a PSD, but also make sure that layers are checked so that the layers are preserved. And so we're all done with this. So you should have a type card, you should have a color palette, And now you can move on to implementing those things onto your wireframes and making your design comps. Okay, so the next steps are using this process, finish your design comps, module 6, sign up for the Codecademy group, get ready for HTML, and as always, if you need help, ask.